I ain't got no problem, man. Don't tell me. Don't tell me my problem is.
Known for his fiery temper and devotion to those in his circle, Lil Scrappy had long been a mainstay of Atlanta's love and hip-hop scene. For years, fans had followed his turbulent journey on screen, seeing his career and family relationships go up and down, but nothing could have prepared the world for the day when Scrappy's own actions would lead to his fall from grace. It all began with a particularly heated argument with a fellow cast member named Khaotic, who was known for his brazen demeanor and willingness to cause trouble. Khaotic and Scrappy were at odds over a minor issue that swiftly got out of hand. Words were exchanged, insults were thrown, and what began as a disagreement that quickly turned into a full-fledged altercation. Scrappy, who had always been known for having a short fuse, was at his breaking point as the tension increased. The two men exchanged abrasive words, but Scrappy's threats that would ultimately seal his fate were more than just words. His tone was menacing, and the threat he made about chaos was more than just words. The phrases themselves did not leave much room for interpretation. A man had crossed a pew behind the cameras, and the producers and crew who had been there were astonished that this wasn't simply another heated fight. Things happened swiftly. The Love and Hip Hop brand, which was intended to be reality television, has a zero-tolerance policy on threats and violence. Had always pretended to be chaotic and dramatic, but there were boundaries. It didn't take long for the authorities to decide that Scrappy's outburst had gone beyond those bounds. One of the most recognizable characters on the program, Scrappy, lost his job. Swift was the one who made the choice after giving it some thought. Scrappy had been involved with Love and Hip Hop Atlanta since the start, and the show had been crucial to his career. The platform had allowed him to showcase his music, his life, and his complex relationships with his family, but now all of that was at risk. The impact it could have on the show's reputation, as well as the safety of the cast and crew, was a devastating blow. Jeopardy, all because of a moment of weakness. When the story came, fans were divided, with some being incensed at Scrappy for getting angry and starting a fight. Others bemoaned the show's hasty decision, saying it reflected the delicate balance reality performers frequently face between entertainment and personal repercussions. For Scrappy, however, the termination meant more than simply the end of a television. Served as a reminder in the days that followed of the price he paid for his rage and his incapacity to restrain it at a passionate moment. Remaining silent, Scrappy took some time to consider his public behavior. Persona had always exuded confidence and boldness, but the truth of what had transpired slowly struck in. He had harmed himself, which had harmed his career. Khaotic, on the other hand, was unaffected by the fallout and kept appearing on the show, but the tension between him and Scrappy persisted in the background. The show would continue without Scrappy, but for the first time in a long time, Scrappy was no longer the center of attention. The lesson was difficult but necessary, and the anger that had previously protected him now acted as a barrier. Losing his place on Love and Hip Hop was detrimental to this success.
I probably went too hard or something, took something the wrong way or something like that, you know? So I want to say, I'm sorry to Khaotic, you know what I mean? We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Not. Cause I can give a cause let me tell you something. When a motherfucker over me and he feel like I'm not a good person, I feel the same way Khaotic. So we on the same page.
No, but he does not feel that way.
He just said it. He said, hey, if you feel like I'm not a good person in your life,
no,
then you need to stay like that, and I'm gonna stay like that. And we don't stand on it.
No.
Let's stand on it.
No.
We don't stand on it.
No, he did not. Stop. He did not say that.
What I said was, if you feel like I'm a bad person to you, then I
This is not about that right now. This is about you. How do you feel about him?
I never said I had a problem with him.
So do what he do, do what he do. He say something crazy and he's like, oh, I ain't got no beef, I ain't got no love.
Khaotic always try to play a victim. He'll start something, then he want to be like, I don't want no beef, man. If you got an issue, stand on it. If not, sit down and shut the up, bro.
At the end of the day, like I said, bro, it don't even really matter.
Cause I'm trying to goddamn, he want everybody to be like, oh my God.
No, because we're so grown, we can really make
an assessment of our own thoughts here. I'm
I
asking
be watching cuz I be like, oh.
Okay, so wait.
You know what your problem is?
I ain't got no problem. I'll beat your ass.
You had a million times to do it. Wait, now, let's get on TV to do it. You a TV man?
You a clown.
You got a problem with me.
You a clown. Keep talking that boy.
Nothing could have predicted the day when Scrappy's own actions would result in his fall from grace, despite his ups and downs with his family ties and job. It all began during a particularly heated dispute with a volatile cast member who had never been bashful about. He was at odds with Scrappy over a minor issue that swiftly got out of hand. Words were exchanged, insults were thrown, and what began as a disagreement soon turned into a full-fledged confrontation. Speaking his mind, a topic, who is known for his brazen attitude and willingness to cause trouble, who was always prone to losing his temper, was at his breaking point as the tension increased. The two men spoke sharply to each other, but Scrappy's threats were what would ultimately end his life. In a fit of rage, he threatened chaos in a way that was more than just words. His tone was ominous, and the words themselves didn't leave much room for imagination. It was shocking to the producers and crew who had witnessed the situation that this was not simply another tense disagreement, but rather a man who had gone too far.
Times, he the one who called me out my name, disrespecting me, talking gangster. I never talked gangster. I never threatened him. I don't play no victim. I just don't do all that fake gangster talking and all that. You came at me talking gangster. First of all, if I say anything slick or say anything crazy out my mouth, I got the right to anyway.
Behind the cameras, a lot happened. While reality television had long functioned under the pretense of chaos and drama, the Love and Hip Hop series maintained a zero-tolerance policy for threats and violence. Those boundaries had been crossed by Scrappy's outburst, and the authorities quickly came to their conclusion. One of the most identifiable characters from the show, Scrappy, was discovered. The decision to fire him wasn't made right away, but it was swift. After carefully weighing the potential effects on the show's reputation, as well as the safety of the cast and crew, Scrappy suffered a devastating blow. He had been a part of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta from the start, and the show had been essential to his career. The platform had allowed him to showcase his music, his life, and his intricate ties with his family, but now everything was in jeopardy due to a moment of weakness. When the story leaked, fans were divided, with some being incensed at Scrappy for getting angry and starting arguments. Others were disappointed with the show's speedy response, saying it reflected the F-line reality star's tendency to balance entertainment with personal repercussions. For Scrappy, however, the termination represented more than simply the end of it. In the days that followed, watching television served as a reminder of the price he paid for his rage and his inability to restrain it during a passionate moment. Scrappy stayed silent and took some time to think about what he had done. His public persona had always been one of confidence and bravado, but behind the scenes, the truth of what had happened set in. He had damaged himself, which in turn had damaged his career. Despite this, he kept going despite the fallout to appear on the show, but the tension between him and Scrappy remained in the background. The show would continue without Scrappy, but for the first time in a long time, Scrappy was no longer the center of attention. The lesson was difficult but necessary, and the anger that had previously protected him now stood in the way of his success when he lost his place on Love and Hip Hop.